All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, everybody? We're back talking some football, Monday Night Showdown. I want to say it's a great game like we had last week, Coop, but you say it's a great showdown game and you get 95 injuries left and right, so I'm not going to jinx anything. We got the Chiefs, not a Chiefs fan, but I'm a McKinnon fan, and we got the Eagles, two of the best teams in the game, hoping for a lot of fun. $1 million, the first place as well. NBA, a nice slate. NHL, a nice slate. Hoop, throw it to you first. A lot of money to be made, and that's what I need because yesterday a lot of money was lost. But how was your weekend? How are you doing today on this Monday morning?
That's the beauty of Showdown. You always have the opportunity to get it all back in one quick swoop. You know, that's what we're going for. And the big prize pool up top, like you said, $1 million to first, which is nice. I feel like they're doing more of it last season consistently, the Millie makers for Showdown this year. Seems like they've slowed down a little bit, but when you get these two teams, the two big-name teams, obviously Eagles and Chiefs, they put the Millie up top, and that makes it a little more exciting. You know, we'll definitely take the 300,000. We'll definitely take the 500,000, but the $1 million just sounds a hell of a lot better. Should be a good game tonight. Obviously, two of the best teams in the NFL, clearly two of the top 5 teams in the NFL. My Lions are obviously up there after their win yesterday. Looking forward to this game. For me, as a tale of two sides, dominated on DK and got my butt kicked over on FanDuel. So, it's better than the double loss, but we'll see if we can find some winners here for this game. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, hey, it's better than getting blanked on both of them. Hoop score smashed. Definitely did well, and it started off absolutely on fire. Rondale Kyler right away off the jump. Fields drove him down too, effortlessly, and then Foreman vultured it. It was a good start. Got a little dicey. Hamwich on the other side, if you tuned in yesterday, he was on the Jordan Love train. It started off dicey, but absolutely turned it around. 300-plus yards, 2 touchdowns. Got the job done there. Ham, how was your Sunday? What's your thoughts going into this Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, Sunday was not good. I had Love, but I can't say I had the guys that went off with Love. Just too many Packers receivers catching passes yesterday. But, we get the Millie up top, right? They know a lot of people are going to be tuning in, rematch of the Super Bowl, Kelsey Bowl, Taylor Swift. You factor all that in. It's $1 million up top, so it should be good. I think I have a few, you called me contrarian yesterday. I think I got a few contrarian plays to maybe differentiate yourself tonight. So looking forward to talking this show.
I love it. As always, we're going to go captains. We're going to touch on running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, talk kickers, D, go to FanDuel as well. Interesting on FanDuel. And then go to the Run the Sim segment. We'll drop the scores there. So we appreciate everyone hanging out. A lot of familiar faces in chat. Appreciate that like button. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And head over to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button over there. And if you do want to join us at SHIPITNation.com, again, just today, NBA, nice slate. NHL, nice slate. NFL Showdown, tons of money up top. MMA is off this week. PGA has a little break as well. We have projections in all those sports, ownership in all those sports. Head over to SHIPITNation.com. Use that promo code MAYO, $69 a month. 6-month package comes out to $59 a month, and our annual package comes out to $49 a month before using that code. Use that code MAYO, comes out about to $62 a month for that monthly package. We appreciate that. Get in the Discord if you do join as well. What a great Discord we had. A lot of screenshots yesterday from multiple people in NBA, in NFL. Head over, get in the Discord if you do join. Hoop, before we get into a little bit, I saw there was a little weather. Looking at our friend Roth on Roto-Grinders, he posted it's yellow, slight chance of rain if you want to touch on any weather. But initial thoughts on this game, the total was a little lower than I expected. Dallas Goedert is out, big bump down for the Eagles, at least it makes it more fun for Showdown, I think, because there's these wide receiver 3s, wide receiver 4s, backup tight ends that all come in the mix. And we know Chiefs slates, the wide receivers, you're playing Russian roulette with all of them, but that means ownership's going to be pretty spread out. And the last thing I'll say is we saw yesterday a solo $300,000 winner. I don't know if you saw the lineup, who did not look crazy one bit. I mean, not one bit. It left 1,900. That's fine, but it looks such like a normal lineup. It wasn't even the stone nuts either with Oliver. So maybe we don't have to get as crazy as we sometimes do. But what are your thoughts on that lineup yesterday in this game in general?
Yeah, a lot of times you see a solo shipper, you click on the team, you're like, oh my gosh, like I would never in a million years build that sort of team. But the one last night, like you said, is like you looked at it like, oh, makes complete sense. Like, how did more people not land on this? And it makes you think a little bit for sure when you go about building your teams. In terms of the weather for this one, it looks like just like a light rain for the game, not much wind, so not really impacting my decision making all that much in terms of building teams. So it's hard. I mean, I don't know. It to me it's the wind, man. You got to have very strong wind with gusts for it to really impact things. With you though, I figured this game would have a higher total. It doesn't. It's sitting. What's the number? 43.
43 and a half.
Yeah.
45 and a half now.
Yeah, so 45 and a half. But I think a lot of that is both of these teams are willing to take ugly type wins, and if the Eagles get a lead, they will shut it down with the run game. And like we've been saying with the Chiefs all season long, they're fine winning an ugly, grinded out type game. So I think that's why we do see this lower total on the game. I mean, it's a fun one. I mean, we're definitely looking forward to this. The Chiefs, the Eagles rematch of the Super Bowl for fantasy purposes, like you said, no Goddard, and it is pretty interesting when you go and regardless of where you're looking at projections. Obviously we'd like you to be over at SHIPIT Nation looking at projections, but there's not really a tight end for the Eagles that's kind of popping as the guy that you need to play today in your lineup. So I think that is very interesting because someone's going to step up as a pass catcher here. I mean, obviously AJ Brown is an absolute stud. Devonta Smith, hasn't had the best season, but after that, like none of these pass catchers are popping anywhere. So I think that's a very interesting aspect of this game. Like, who is the 3? Who is the 4? Whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a tight end, I think that's very important to kind of figure out when you're going through and diving into this game.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And I think that's what makes it a lot of fun. I hinted at a little bit earlier. Obviously, we have Mahomes, Hurts, Kelsey, AJ Brown. They're in a tier of their own. Devontae Smith hasn't been in that tier yet. He has that upside. Chiefs receivers, though, they rotate like 6 of them. So who knows who that's going to be. A lot of them pretty cheaply priced. And then without Goddard, brings in the Stoles of the world, Albert O's, the wide receiver 3, 4, Zacchaeus, Julio Jones. So it makes a lot of viable options. You get 2 backfields that kind of are splits. The Swifts of the world, Gainwell back there. Pacheco's kind of dominated this year, but tough matchup. McKinnon in the backfield as well, CEH. So pretty interesting. I think ownership's pretty spread out outside of those top 4 guys. Ham, what are your initial thoughts before we go and touch on captains?
Yeah, I mean, these 2 defenses are, pretty good. You can't run on the Eagles. You can throw them a little bit. The Chiefs defense has been lights out all season long, so I think that's why we have a little condensed total at, right around 45, 46. But I don't think, like Hoop said, I think it's going to be a grinded out type of game. I see these running backs projected for high ownership. I'm just not a fan of either running backs once we get into that because you can't run on them. They'll be catching more passes tonight. So your boy McKinnon, you're rocking his jersey. This is more of a McKinnon game to me, but I know we're not talking running backs, so I'll hold off on that. But should be a good game, and it's going to be tough to find, good spots once we get there.
Yeah, you touch on McKinnon. We'll get there for sure. I mean, it definitely screams a McKinnon game. Now, the dude has to be on the field and actually get the ball for it to happen. So we'll get there when it comes to running back. Let's touch on captains first, Hoop. I'll throw it to you to start. And I mentioned it a little bit ago. Captain or just the main 4 guys. And I think the main 4 guys, Hurts, Mahomes, AJ Brown, Kelsey will be the main 4 guys at captain. I don't know. I'm not seeing anyone get over 20% because I think there's enough guys on this slate that I think those 4 will be the only ones above 10%. Maybe just mixing and matching. Maybe quarterbacks are the highest owned of the bunch. No strong lean there, but I think we don't see anyone over 20%. If so, just very briefly, I think those 4 dominated. And after that, I think it's relatively spread out with Devontae Smith, both the starting running backs on the other side, the Watsons, the Rice, the guys that we do know will be on the field a little bit for cheaper. How do you see captain ownership going a little bit? And then what's your approach? Are you an all-in on those main 4 guys? Are you going to be mixing and matching a bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a clear 4, both quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts, and then A.J. Brown and Travis Kelce that's going to soak up a majority of the ownership at the captain position. But the one thing you do always see in these showdown slates, people they spread it out at captain. There'll be the defenses up there. There'll be some people will play kickers up there, these other pass catchers. So haven't fully decided, what to do, but we've seen these games play out so many times with 2 high-powered offenses, and again, don't know the exact numbers, but a majority of the time, it's one of the big boys in the captain that you need. And tonight, I think it is going to be one of those 4 that ends up being the captain that you do indeed need. And honestly, like with the wet surface or whatever, I'm not impacting it a ton, but I do think a guy like Kelce definitely benefits from this situation. Not that the Chiefs throw it deep down the field all that often, but I mean, Kelce can just get to his spots, and it just seems like he is always just wide freaking open. So he stands out to me as a guy that could be the optimal captain. The ownership on him in the captain spot's not looking all that crazy. Like you said, all these guys looking to come in 20% or below. It's not one of those slates where you're going to see someone, 25% in that captain spot, which is nice. So if you are looking at just playing those 4, maybe go strong on 2 of them and then just kind of hover around the field on another 2. That's something you can do. Other captains outside of those 4 that interest me, I think, the next for me would be Pacheco. Don't know if I'm going to get there, but again, the Chiefs are willing to win, grind it out, uglier type games. They would be fine winning this game 21-10 or something along those lines. They get a lead. I think we could see a lot of Pacheco. Now, it's not the best matchup, but, if he finds the end zone twice, you probably need him up top. So he would be the next in line for me. Devonta Smith, I don't necessarily love him up top. It's probably, those 4, maybe some Pacheco. And it's just hard to sell yourself on anyone else, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe you guys have some other opinions. Definitely curious because I'm open today because I know everyone's going with those top 4. It is really tough when you start looking at this list of players. You got the Chiefs pass catchers. So many of those guys in the equation. It's not only like they don't need 1 touchdown. They're going to need a lot of yards into touchdown and catches, and none of their wide receivers really have that. On the Eagles side, it's like A.J. Brown for sure. Devonta Smith, he hasn't had many explosive performances this week. So I don't know. It's a tough position. It's tough outside of those 4. Feel very confident that it's one of those 4 that end up being the optimal captain.
Yeah. My thoughts is I'll be mixing in the Chiefs receivers, namely the Watsons, Rice, and Scantlings. It gets you on a whole different build because they're so much cheaper. You pay 1.5x at captain. And at least I know with Scantling, he's very cheap, and he runs deep routes. I mean, all it takes for him is 150-yarder. He can get there. Rice has been their best this year. Watson has ran a good amount of routes, isn't really cheap. Do I like any of them? No, but I know they'll be really low owned, mixing and matching on the field. And also, like, if one of them do fall in the box, that means Kelce doesn't, and you get a little leverage off that way. Kelce is my favorite, though. He has the best touchdown prop on the board at -120. No one else is favored to score. We got Hurts plus 115, Pacheco 120, A.J. Brown 135, Swift 140. So solid touchdown props out there. Kelce at -120 is very nice. Eagles have been gashed by tight ends. Kelce's my favorite for sure. I think the quarterbacks are my least favorite. They always seem to be, but these aren't the normal quarterbacks. I mean, if they get to the 1-yard line, it's going to be a tush push with Hurts. Mahomes does have some rushing upside too, going against a tough front 7. I think the Swift to Pacheco, I'll go to you in a sec, Ham. I think the matchup's a little easier. You can catch the ball a little more out of the backfield. I'm worried about this front 7, and Mahomes having to drop back more for Pacheco. So he's definitely my least favorite here. Again, don't love the quarterbacks. I'll be playing some Devonta Smith. He's had such a bad year, and probably it's A.J. Brown show again, but he's going to be probably half the ownership, and we've seen that upside in the past. So my overall thoughts, I like the 4. The quarterbacks I prefer least than A.J. Brown and Kelce. I think the running backs are fine because of their role. Don't love with the matchup. Give me the Devonta Smiths, the Chiefs mixing and matching receivers and hope one of them break it. How do you see Captain Ham? All in, or are you going to be spreading it out a little bit?
Yeah, spreading it out, and you kind of mentioned it. I mean, the best Chiefs receiver, and I think you attack this Eagles defense. I mean, he's not CeeDee Lamb, but we saw what CeeDee Lamb did this Eagles team last time out. Rashee Rice, I mean, he's rookie, very explosive. They get him the ball on screens and short yardage situations, and in the rain, that's going to be good because he can use the speed, use the blocking. So I wouldn't mind Rashee Rice as number 5 maybe. Outside of that big 4, from the captain. I mean, I won't have a whole ton. I'm just saying if you're building, 20-plus teams, I don't think Rice is the craziest thing. But Devontae Smith, you said it, just hasn't done it this year. I mean, one game over 100 yards against the Vikings. That was back in week 2. And watching these Eagles games, I just don't feel like he looks for Devontae. I mean, obviously he's looking for A.J. Brown, who's a beast. So it'd be Rashee Rice, number 5, and then maybe DeAndre Swift. Would be interested to see what y'all think about that. And that's just because of some dump offs, catching 8 to 10 dump offs in the rain. That's 8 points, before you even get the yard. So DeAndre Swift would kind of be maybe number 6 for me as well.
Yeah, I like Swift more than Pacheco for sure. I think it's an easier matchup on the ground. People keep talking about how the Chiefs' offenses look bad to start the year, relying more on their defense. Yeah, like we mentioned at both games, we saw Eagles against the Vikings earlier in the season, but Vikings couldn't stop Swift on the ground, and they literally ran every single play down their mouth. The Chiefs will do the same thing. People talking like they like the under. So, yeah, the more we talk about it, total definitely feels a bit right. 2 great teams. Maybe take the ball or the air out of the ball a little bit and try and keep it on the ground. I just hate the matchups. Hoop any final, like I'm not going to be playing. I love my boy McKinnon. There's Gainwell. There's Stoll. We're going to get to these Zacchaeus of the world. I'm not playing them at captain, though. I just think there's enough. Those 4 guys up top, and then I'll take the shots on the Chiefs receivers, the Devontae Smiths. I need upside. What are your thoughts on just the Chief captains?
Yeah, and just to touch on the Chiefs offense thing, I mean, I'm not willing to say that their offense isn't good or has looked bad. I just think it's the point that we've made a ton this year. Like, they're willing to win in an uglier fashion. Like, they don't need to go out there and win 40-30 like they wanted to do in the past. Like, they'll take these ugly games and take these ugly wins. Come playoff time, I don't think we're going to be saying that the Chiefs offense doesn't look very good. That's my opinion on it. And yeah, talking through it, the total is probably right when you factor all that stuff into the equation. But yeah, it's a tough slate in terms of finding different type of captains. So maybe we just bank on making sure our teams are built properly, getting a little bit unique in the flex with what we do there. A lot of options. I mean, a lot of guys you can potentially play in the flex. Talked about all those Chiefs guys. They use a ton of different wide receivers. A lot of question marks on the Eagles offense is who the next guy up is. So, maybe that's where we take our chances more in the flex opposed to in the captain spot.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I'll be getting more different how I get different in my captain spot is just those Chiefs scrubs we talked about. Flex spot, I'll get more different though, because I'm not going cheap captains. Let's go to the running back room, Hoop. We talked about a good amount, and this is mainly talking on the flex since we mentioned captain, but there's Swift and Pacheco, the 2 starting running backs on both sides, but they definitely have some competition with Gainwell behind Swift, with McKinnon, CEH behind Pacheco's of the world. It's kind of game script oriented, I think. Like if the Chiefs jump out 14-0, you'd expect a lot of Pacheco, probably 20-plus carries. If they get behind, I wouldn't expect as much Pacheco. I'd expect the McKinnons, the CEH. I know I'm not going to touch on McKinnon quick. All I will say is the dude just isn't – I love him. I think he's a total stud. Of course, he's won me plenty of cheese. The dude was as hot as ever in the past second half of the season last year, but he's just not on the field enough. I want to click the name. It's hard for me to do so. I like the Eagles side way more, Gainwell and Swift more than Pacheco and McKinnon. But Swift is by far my favorite in this bunch. I prefer the pass catchers when we get there, though. Pretty tough matchup on both sides. More so, the Eagles are more pass funnel on their front 7. Very tough against the run. What are you doing at the running back room? Any rules you see yourself making?
No, I don't think I'll be making any rules. Just looking at it, Swift and Pacheco, clear plays here. But after that, I don't really love anyone else. Like you said with McKinnon, like he's the guy we want to play. Like he fits DK scoring so well when he's in the game, but like he's just not in the game, and his touches have been so low. You're banking on like a random touchdown, which I think he got last week. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like he got in the box.
3. He gets them.
Yeah.
When they get to the goal line, he'll get like one touch, and he usually converts it. But
yeah. So last week he did score the touchdown, and he got 10 fantasy points. So it's almost like a random goal line running back that you need him to be in there at a specific time to get there, because he's not going to rack up a bunch of catches. The price is like 5,600, where even like the performance from last week where he gets 10, there's no guarantee that you need him. So it's going to be hard for me to get to him. Gainwell, if I get some, that's fine. And then I guess the other guy that you could consider would be Edwards-Helaire, but again, I don't necessarily love him, but he's at $2,000, where if he does happen to get a high leverage carry and fall in the end zone, it could pay off. But I don't see myself getting a lot of McKinnon, Gainwell, or Edwards-Helaire. It's going to be Swift. It's going to be Pacheco in this price range. Speaking on like the McKinnon and Gainwell price range, I'd much rather take my chances on pass catchers, which we'll get to in a minute. A lot of different wide receivers that you can play over McKinnon and Gainwell. So it's going to be Swift and Pacheco, and I don't foresee myself getting much of the other guys at the running back position.
Yeah, I get it. I'll just be using those two to get different in builds. Like again, I don't like them, but I think because of their price, I expect Gainwell and McKinnon to be somewhere around 10% probably in the flex cap, and I expect Swift and Pacheco probably to be high 30s somewhere. So that's how I'll be using them, probably in more Mahomes, Kelsey, AJ Brown, Hurts builds. Someone asked, do you see yourself or any game script where you can play two of these guys on the same team? I don't know. I'm not going to group it away. We touched on it last week when I saw Foreman and Roshan Johnson, whoever it was, get there. But at the end of the day, I don't love it by any means because I don't like Penny and CEH. And just going Gainwell and Swift or McKinnon and Pacheco in a game like this with so many pass catchers, with kickers, with all that, I think you're limiting yourself a little bit because they're not going to share the field. So I don't love it, but I'm not going to group it away. Ham, you going to get any different at the running back position in the flex? Again, I'm thinking 10% for the backups, probably about high 30s for the starters, and then any Penny or CH if you're doing 150.
Yeah, I mean, my number one running back would be DeAndre Swift. I think he catches 5+ balls tonight. I mean, just looking back, when they played the Jets, which was another tough defense, there was a lot of dump offs to him there, 10 targets, 8 catches. So I like that. I think it's a similar defense in the sense of it's going to be a grinded out type of 17-14 game and not a 28-31 type of game. So Swift would be my favorite running back out of the group. I'm not going to get to any Chief running back. You said it. McKinnon just doesn't get the touches, the opportunities. It's going to take 2 touchdowns out of him, and I just don't think he's doing that tonight. No Pacheco to me. You don't run on this Eagles front four. You beat them through the air. You beat the Eagles through the air, so you're going to have to pass it. So give me the pass catchers. Gainwell, if I'm doing 150, just based on the fact that they gave him a little touchdown. I think it was a week or two ago. Down near the goal line. He could fall in the box. But Swift's going to play 70-75% of the snaps. He's going to catch some passes. That's my favorite running back play of the night. Probably the only one that I'm going to have any interest in.
I love it. Yeah, you and I, we're on the same page there. I don't know if this is serious or not. People can't be yelling at Tambo. Tambo won't get heated about the Taylor Swift talk, but I do not think she is in attendance. And again, I do think your second question or your second part plays a major factor. That's where I cannot tell if you were kidding or not.
But the families are meeting tonight. The families are meeting. How does that play into the equation?
Wait, so are they actually there? I thought they
were. Came back from
Taylor's.
She came back.
Oh, she did. Is she going to be there?
Well, I don't know. I think they keep their, but I know they came back. I know she's.
Yeah.
I say I know that. My daughter told me she came back. So.
Yeah, well, I'm getting updates from my daughter as well. So I mean, me and you should have all the information on this situation. But that's the plan tonight. The parents are meeting, and the parents were going to meet despite Taylor being there or not being there. So we'll see.
And they kissed. Yeah. They shared their first kiss, public kiss.
Public kiss. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I'm regretting even bringing this up. I thought
one of y'all
would know quick. And I thought we'd
I
go
don't-
on. All
we-
I'm
we-
saying is do not change how you're building.
We have preteen daughters, so like it's
I know y'all
it's
do.
a hot topic in our household.
Yeah, you guys will. Maybe Ham and Hoop will fire up a show later talking that, but I ain't going to be on that show.
The
Let's get
impact
to the
of tonight's game.
Let's get to the wide receiver room. Again, I should not have brought that up one bit. Let's go. Let's touch on the Chiefs side quick, Hoop, because I mean, how many guys do they need to have? Rashee Rice, Scantling, Watson, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore. It's not even touching about these running backs like the McKinnons, the Pachacos, the Kelseys that are all ahead of most of these guys in forms of target share anyway or target tree. How many is too many? Who are your favorites? The prices are pretty good. Ownership will be decently low on a lot of these guys. I'm mixing and matching them myself. Do you have any leans? Are you going to be Xing anyone out? What are you doing?
Just gonna play a lot of these guys. Like you said, I mean, okay, so we know AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and then Rashee Rice is the clear. Yeah, it's all your fault, Colton. Rice is the clear, I guess, number one in KC. After those three guys, Brown, Smith, Rice, it is a put a name in a hat, draw it out, and this could be the guy tonight. So the rest of these guys, which I'll mention in a second, are all perfect plays for Mahomes captain teams and Jalen Hurts captain teams, because if they throw a touchdown to one of these guys, you probably need them on your team, assuming that Hurts or Mahomes ends up being the optimal captain. On the Chiefs side, it is bizarre, but I think there's 5 other guys that you can probably play. Valdez-Scantling, Justin Watson got 5 targets last game, 5 targets, and that is a huge number when you consider the Chiefs' offense and how many guys are getting mixed in. But he got 5, and he had 3 the week before. He's 2,400.
Sorry.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But, man, if you have a Chiefs jersey on and you're a wide receiver, you're going to get on the field and have an opportunity. Yeah, besides McKinnon, unless your name's
Put me
McKinnon.
in, Coach. I got a jersey. Put me in.
Watson, and not somebody that can actually do something with it like McKinnon.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's probably part of the problem. So you got Valdez-Scantling, who definitely he gets the deep ball. I mean, the problem is the guy just can't catch the fucking football, and they always throw it to him. Hardman now is in the mix at 2,800. You have Sky Moore still there at 34. Kadarius Toney at 42. He seems like he might be the one that's kind of on the out. So
He's the left out guy.
Yeah, he's the one that's kind of left out. But I don't know, they all seem the same, and they all probably have similar upside, similar opportunity. I'm going to play these guys again in those Mahomes captain teams. And then on the Eagles side, again, we talked about it in the opening. Someone is going to step up. There's going to be another pass catcher outside of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and nobody is showing, in terms of projections, no one's showing up and popping as being that guy. Call me crazy, but I think the one that I might like the most is Julio Jones on the Eagles side, because he's getting red zone targets, multiple red zone targets. They don't have a tight end. I think they get down. I think he scores a touchdown. I'm calling a Julio Jones touchdown tonight. I think he converts a red zone target tonight in lieu of Goddard being out there. Zacchaeus, 1.2K. I think he's a totally fine option. And I guess that's probably it. But somebody on the Eagles side is going to have to do something. I mean, Goddard was a big part of what they do. Yes, there's routes where you get one of those games where they score a bunch of points and Hurts rushes into or something, and it isn't anybody. But I have a feeling it's going to be somebody. Tonight, for me, it's going to be Julio Jones. I actually like him. On the Chiefs side, I mean, there's 5 different guys you can play, and it's hard to have a strong lean on any of them.
Yeah, so we'll get to the tight end position too. Maybe I should have lumped them together. That'd just be a lot of players. But people are talking the Grant Calcaterras, the Jake Stolls of the world, Albert O if he's going to be active. On the other side, Noah Gray. There's plenty of tight ends and all of that as well. What I'm thinking, the more we talk about it, and I've thought about it, is Jake Stoll is a primary run blocker. Grant Calcaterra has hardly seen the field. Albert O, I think he was just picked up not too when Denver dropped him, but he hasn't seen the field. He's been jumping around teams for a while now. He definitely has talent, but I don't even know if he could very well not even get a snap, not even be active. So who knows? Zacchaeus has been out there. Julio Jones has been out there. Do they run more 4 receiver sets? Those guys have to get some more snaps in the slot. So I'm going to be playing I like the Eagles guys more than I think I like the tight ends. And I think the tight ends, I don't know, people want to play Stoll. People want to play Calcaterra at their prices. So I think I'm more so on these Julios, the Zacchaeus of the world, and just hope they get there. I don't have a strong lean. Touchdown props pretty similar as well. Ham, do you have a strong lean on this Eagles room, and then touch on these Chiefs receivers?
Yeah, I mean, we keep talking about, Julio Jones, Zacchaeus. Like, what if they just gave AJ Brown and Devontae
Very
Smith
well could.
more targets? Yeah. So it's, I mean, you just may have to build based off that. And Title, I can't believe I talked about Jordan Love and got trashed yesterday, and Hoop mentioned Julio Jones scoring a touchdown. And you don't say anything.
Get the free pass.
We have a showdown. It's a showdown slate. I'm going to play some too.
Title was feeling it. I saw him nodding his head. As soon as that name came out of my mouth, I could tell like he was alive.
I like that. Him and Zacchaeus. I do at this slate. I like those two, and it's gross.
Julio Jones. It's 2023, and Hoop's over here touting
Red zone targets, baby. Red zone.
No, I'm just he did. And the touchdown he caught was an amazing catch. But actually, maybe not multiple, but he has one. Okay. Yeah.
in the last four though. Yeah, I don't know if that's every game that he's saying, but he's been.
I've seen him get passed to multiple times.
Yeah, I'm
sticking to it.
But, actually, Albert O would be my favorite, I guess, guy. Calcaterra coming back from a concussion, so I don't like him. He's Calcaterra's popping in the optimals right now.
I was going to say, this too, best Patrick. I mean, he's probably going to be the highest owned of all of them too. If you do believe that, it's still spread out a little bit, but I do think your thoughts are as well, Ham, that'll probably be the highest owned.
Yeah, Calcaterra definitely will. And Albert O, I mean, I know he hadn't done anything in the NFL, but a really good tight end. Hey, coming back to the state of Missouri, started at Missouri, University of Missouri. I don't know. You could have that coming home to Missouri connection there. I don't know, but I do like Albert O. He's a good tight end, a really good tight end in college, and then hadn't done anything in the pros. So, $400 over on DraftKings, not going to get played. They're all going to flock to Calcaterra, but he's had a history of concussions. Had a concussion, I think, 3 weeks ago. Jake Stoll, way too expensive in my opinion. So give me Albert O as kind of my, I guess, sneaky play of the night when it comes to that. And then just going back, I know it was obviously a different game in the Super Bowl, but they found ways to get Kadarius Toney touchdowns, found ways to get Sky Moore a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, you give Andy Reid an extra week of preparation. They're drawing up plays that you draw up in your backyard. So that 5-10% is Kadarius Toney. The worst play, I don't think so, but he's only going to play 20-25% of the snaps.
Yeah, one thing, and I'm going to go back to for a question, Ham. So I'm looking at ownership. I think the industry is light on Calcaterra because he's all the way down there in price, and these other guys, Zacchaeus, that are 1,000 more, and he's projecting decent, but still maybe 10%, 12%. All those guys mix and match down there. But back to you, Ham. Rank these Chiefs because you mentioned two of my least two favorites, Sky Moore and Toney, but I totally get it, and Toney has a solid touchdown prop. Sky Moore, not nearly as much. I like the guys that I feel more comfortable with being on the field more, the Watsons, the Rice, Scantlings. But I think they also are a little higher owned than the Sky Moores and Toney too. So rank those Chiefs receivers before we get to tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I would have Rice number one for me, Scantling number two. Moore, I'd say Moore, and I would lump Moore, Watson, and Toney. I mean, Moore had been playing 60+% of the snaps, then it fell off a cliff against the Dolphins, went down to 25%. So I don't know what happened to him. I think he had a first or second rounder, 2 years ago, fell out of favor. I mean, obviously he's not doing anything, and they're throwing it to Hoops boy Justin Watson 5 times. So Rice has the most touchdown upside. I think it's Rice. I think it's Kelsey. I don't think you beat this team running it. I think Andy Reid is smarter than I am when it comes to winning football games, and he's going to throw it. Mahomes is going to get the bonus. He's going to find some pass catchers to go with him.
Yeah, Hoop, rank them. For me, it's Rice, Scantling, Watson. I look at pretty much the same. Probably Scantling just because, man, it only might take one play, which we say forever, and he never gets it. But it'd probably be those. It'd be Rice, Scantling, Watson, and then don't love either Toney or Moore for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Rice and Scantling just because they're going to be on the field more than the rest. But I don't know, the rest of those guys, even Hardman, he got a couple targets, I believe, last week as well.
I think one was designed for him too.
Yeah, 3 targets actually. So 3 targets and then 2 targets. I mean, that's not massive numbers, but in this offense and with Mahomes throwing the ball, it's pretty important. So they're all just like the same to me after like Rice and Scantling. And again, I think they're just really good fits for Mahomes captain teams. If you have like Mahomes, Kelsey, or Mahomes and Rice, and then one of these guys, I think it makes a lot of sense because, yeah, I agree. They probably do lean a little more pass heavy tonight in this game. And yeah, I mean, to me, they're all just kind of similar.
This is pretty dope. Colton, you messed up the show earlier with T Swift, but you got it back. Your dad coached Albert O in high school. That is pretty awesome. Let's get to the tight end position because I do like what Ham said. We do have to monitor. I'm expecting Albert O to be active and they to roll 3 tight ends. But again, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eagles go more 4 receiver sets, spread it out more. They have success with the running game too. It opens up the box a little bit. So I prefer the Zacchaeus and the Julios, I think, over these guys. But who going to you? There's multiple options on both sides of the ball. Obviously, on the Chiefs side, Kelsey and Gray. And on these Eagles sides, all cheap. No Goddard. So Jake Stoll's the primary tight end, but he's a primary blocker. I do think Calcaterra – actually, I think Albert O is the best tight end, pass catcher, most athletic guy of the group. But he's also number 3 on the depth chart. I think Calcaterra probably the highest owned of the bunch, but we always say it gets mixed and matched down here, especially with these Chiefs receivers. There's multiple cheapies down here that I don't think he's going to be crazy owned, but I do think probably the industry's a little light on him. What are you doing at tight end? Any rules? Break it down.
Yeah. And then in terms of weather, yeah, we touched on it. It's supposed to rain, apparently light rain through the entire game. Not a massive impact for, I'll speak for myself for what I'm doing tonight. In terms of building out my teams. I mean, it's just too hard. 1 game slate. It's not like we can go to an environment where there's no rain. Like it's just, there's not much you can do with it.
Both of them have played in pretty bad weather too.
Correct.
Both guys can get it done with their legs.
Yeah. So not too worried. And then, I just want to touch on the point you made about the Eagles playing more 4 wide receiver sets. Fingers crossed. Hope that's the case. Our boy Julio gets more targets out there to jam it right down our guy Ham's throat tonight.
I'm in.
The tight ends, yeah. I mean, obviously Kelsey's in a tier of his own. I think he's a phenomenal play tonight. And we did talk about the weather. If there's one guy I think that does potentially benefit from sloppier conditions, it would be Kelsey. Like the shorter passes and whatnot. Already loved him. So I'll be heavy on him. Noah Gray, heavily involved in this offense. He's only 1,800. He could easily get 3 catches, 40 yards, and find the box. So definitely like him. And then, Stoll, Calcaterra, sure.
Blake Bell. Guess I forgot another guy.
Yeah, Bell's, he's 200. I mean, you could throw him in the mix as well if you want. I mean, there's just a lot of different pass catchers to go with in this game. Yeah, Stoll. Obviously he's more of a blocking tight end, but he's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to be on the field a lot, and blocking tight ends do run routes as well. He's 3,200, so I don't mind him. Maybe he's the one that's getting a little overlooked because people just assume, with Goddard there, he is more of a blocking tight end, obviously, but Goddard out, maybe he has more of a role in this game. So I definitely want some of him. Calcaterra, people in the chat were posting there's a very obvious build I haven't looked at it yet with Mahomes at captain. You basically get Mahomes and Kelsey and AJ Brown and I believe Jalen Hurts. So don't play that team because it'll be heavily, if it's just super obvious and comes close to zeroing out, it'll be heavily owned. But 4 tight ends in play. Obviously Kelsey by himself. Gray, I think definitely number 2, and then I'm fine with Stoll and Calcaterra.
Yeah, that's why I was just mentioning about Calcaterra, because when you go all the way down to the 200 options, he by far stands out the most. So even if he is I like him. And there's plenty of ways to use him and be pretty different. But if you're leaving 0 salary or $200 and you have Calcaterra with all the studs, that's no secret by any means. Probably one of the highest Duke teams that will be out there. Yeah,
because there's really no. I mean, we talked about a lot of these cheap guys, but he's the only $200 guy that's kind of standing out as a play tonight. So if anyone's going all the way down there and the lineup comes close to zeroing out, that team is going to be heavily duped.
I think Blake Bell might be the only one active that's 200. Otherwise, Albert O maybe for 200 more. Like, there's just not options. Before I get to you, Ham, I wanted just thoughts on for Hoop, because Stoll will be pretty low owned even as a starting tight end. I think a lot of it has to do with his price at 3,200. You get 3K savings, especially a primary blocker. But I'll read this range. We have the defenses. We won't touch on it yet. I don't want to get your takes there. But Sky Moore, 200 more. Scantling, 200 less. Hardman, 400 less. Julio, 600 less. Watson, 800 less. How would you rank Stoll amongst those pretty much Chiefs receivers?
Yeah, I mean, most of the Chiefs receivers over him, to be honest, but I do want to get Stoll in those Hurts captain teams, like Jalen Hurts captain teams. I want Stoll that's the spot I want to deploy Stoll for sure, is in those situations where I have Hurts in the captain. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Kelsey Brothers rematch should be fun. Can't be rostering big old Jason today, though. Ham, what are you doing at this tight end position? You mentioned Albert O earlier. I like it. I mean, if we have to monitor actives, I'm expecting them to have all three tight ends active without Goddard, but I don't think it's a lock by any means. I think he is probably the most athletic guy. Calcaterra is fine. Will be a fraction of the ownership. Talk to me, Ham. I know you mentioned him, but talk about these other tight ends too.
Yeah, I think my hot take is that Calcaterra and Stoll get big old goose eggs. I think Stoll is just like a Mercedes Lewis and a Jake Stoll jersey. I mean, the guy's playing 30 to 40% of the snaps every week and has 3 targets on the season. It's not like he hasn't been playing. He's Mercedes Lewis is all he is. So I don't like him, especially at that price. I think Albert O, I guess healthy from all intents and purposes, I guess, when it comes to Calcaterra, who is beat up. But Hoop said it earlier. I mean, Kelsey's going to catch so many passes, 5-yard passes, I think, all night long, just if it rains. And plus, he's one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in the NFL. So with Calcaterra as being as popular as he is, I mean, there's a reason why people are going there, right? They want to jam in what you said, Mahomes, Kelsey, AJ, and Hurts, and then you got to fill in the 5th spot. So Calcaterra going to be super popular. I'm out on Calcaterra. I'm calling a goose egg. Calling a goose egg on him. Calling a goose egg on Stoll is my hot take.
And you got a goose egg on Julio.
Yeah. So all in Zacchaeus tonight for you.
It's going to be more. It's going to be Swift and Brown. I mean, we're talking about guys that are just. You want to talk about cheeks? We're talking about guys that are just cheeks. So give me Swift and AJ Brown, and not these guys that no one's ever heard of.
DK hasn't blessed Hoop and I with unlimited salary like it sounds like they're blessing Ham over there. Sad scene.
But that's my point, is that you're going to have to get some of these kickers, defenses, somebody like that in there, because you just can't fit it in. Obviously can't.
What a segue. Ham's like a professional. The perfect segue for the host right into kickers and defense. I mean, Title's job is so easy.
And Hoop just made it easier. There we go. Defenses, kickers. Let's talk about it. So this range, like, you expect two of the best teams. You expect defenses to be pretty low owned, which isn't necessarily how it should be. Like, we've seen defenses score the most in high scoring games a lot of the time. The more dropbacks, the more opportunities. So much of the ceiling for defenses now is in, I guess, punt returns and kick returns we got to talk about too, but is in the pick sixes, the fumbles, and stuff like that. But mainly kickers and D is going to get ownership in this game because of the range we talked about. Jake Elliott and Butker, 5,200 Elliott, 5K Butker. However, who's in that range? McKinnon is 5,600. He projects worse than both. Gainwell is 4,400. He projects worse. 2 backup running backs right by the kickers. And then you have Tony right there too. I like both kickers more than all 3 of them. Then the defense is 4K and 3,800. Pretty cheap. Who's in their range? Tony above a little bit. Gainwell above a little bit. Then the Sky Moore, Stoll, Scantling, Hardmans of the world right there. I don't know. I don't really love that range too much. So I prefer the kickers to the defenses just because they're a little more expensive. That range is even worse. But I'll be playing some of these defenses. Like, if these Chiefs receivers do nothing and it's all Kelsey, it's all AJ Brown, the value bus, 5 points we've seen has been enough to be on the optimal. So give me kickers over defenses. I'll be playing both, though, more than I expected when I woke up today seeing this game. What about you? Even with the weather, I know people talk about the weather, how it affects kickers, this and that. I'm still going to be playing it. And I hope the weather lowers ownership a bit. It's mainly the nature of the range though that I'll be doing it for.
Yeah, Butker's always a guy that I like playing. I mean, had a lot of success playing him in Showdown. It seems like he shows up on these Showdown slates and just, not necessarily him, but his the Chiefs end up in good spots for him to kick field goals, and it's happened a lot on Showdown. When I see Butker Showdown, I get excited in on him. Elliott don't like as much, but he'll be in the player pool tonight. The Eagles just so aggressive on offense where his potential for kicking field goals kind of comes down, but I will have some of him. The defenses are pretty darn cheap. 4K for the Eagles, 38 for the Chiefs. And this is one of those games where people are going to look and say Chiefs, Eagles, offense, and they're not going to think defense. So I'm curious to see what sort of ownership we get on the defenses. A lot of Showdown ownership for defenses has been, the defense ownership has skyrocketed this year. It seems like I'll have them in there. But
15 to 20. What would you do with that? 15 to 20.
I'll probably be right around that. I guess probably on the lower end. Again, I haven't built teams, but again, it will be kind of dependent on who I have in the captain, because if I'm playing Mahomes in the captain, I want those cheap wide receivers over the defense for sure. Like I want those cheap Chiefs wide receivers over the defenses. So I want to be pretty specific about how I build my teams tonight, I think. But defenses will be in the conversation because of the price tag. 4K for the Eagles, 38 for the Chiefs. People probably thinking this is a shootout, despite the 45 total. And then Butker for sure. And then I'm good with some Elliott too. So, yeah, pretty high on kickers and Ds tonight. More so than usual, I guess.
Wind's not affecting your take at all? Kind of just the nature of the range?
Just looking like 10, nothing crazy in terms of the miles per hour. Again, for it to affect what I do with kickers, it's got to be like 20 with gusts going higher than that.
Yeah, I'm more worried about just two good offenses. They get into 4th and 2s and 4th and 3s, and they just go for it.
Yeah,
both sides
certainly.
More so than I am the weather. But, yeah, I'm playing the kickers like we talked about. Mainly just kickers and defenses who they're priced around. And we've seen random stuff. Yeah, Chiefs threw a pick 6 to the Lions earlier on Showdown. Lions threw one to Vegas on Showdown. We've seen pick 6s, punt returns every other game, it feels like.
Far too many.
Hey, when are we going to finally just start bumping them? Then they won't happen, Hoop, so we can't do that either. Cam, what are we doing? Talk to us.
Yeah, I'm with Hoop on this one. It's anything 4th and 5 or lower, the Eagles are going for it, I feel like. So Jake Elliott just – too priced up. Butker always shows up in Showdown, I feel like, especially at home, even more so. So I like Butker. And then these defenses are priced pretty nice, compared to what we've seen in other Showdown slates. They both have, sack upside, TD upside. In the Super, going back to the Super Bowl, obviously different game, but I think the Chiefs were in the optimal last year and gave up like 30 some odd points because they had that scoop and score, whatnot with Jalen at captain. So crazy things can happen. I don't think that's out of the question. Plus, these are two really, really good defense, probably top 10 defenses, top 5 defenses in the NFL, especially the Chiefs. I really like the Chiefs defense tonight.
I love it. Love it. Before we get into it, we'll touch FanDuel. We'll go run the Sims segment. I want to just touch on broad roster construction. Hoop. I'm thinking 3 3s and then 4 2s. Kind of what you'd expect. Pretty tight spread. Some injuries on both sides, mainly the Eagles side, but there's value options down for both teams. I think 3-3, 4-2s will be very popular. I think they're totally fine to play. If you go 5-1, you're different immediately, but I think there's enough Chiefs random receivers, these backup running backs, kickers, D. I think it's a great Showdown slate. As more you keep talking about it, fade one of the top 4 at captain, you're different immediately there. I probably will be going more that route, getting different in other ways and not as many 5-1 builds. What's your thoughts there? Because I think 3-3 and 4-2 is by far the most popular.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of overall team ownership, I think it definitely leans towards the Chiefs just because there's so many different guys you can play. We talked about like the wide receivers. There's 6 different wide receivers you can play. The Eagles, like no one has really popped up in projections in terms of being the number 3. So I think overall you see more Chiefs guys, so probably more 4-2 Chiefs, but 3-3, 4-2 on either side is going to be the most popular builds. Not going to be many 5-1s today, I don't think.
Ham, any thoughts on that? Any 5-1s for yourself?
Yeah, no 5-1s for me. Agree with Hoop. Tambo talks about it. I'm okay with 2 4s as well, right? So 2 4s, 4-2, 3-3. Yep, that's where I'm going to be tonight too.
Yeah, always. And when he says 2-4, that just means the two. He's playing two. Let's say 2 Eagles. That means one of those Eagles would be at that captain spots. Hoop, you want to touch on a little FanDuel quick before we do the Run the Sims?
Yeah.
Mainly, again, one question for you. I like asking these questions with how condensed and everything FanDuel is, how hard it is to get different. Just say I want to play 50 teams over there. Would you be more inclined to go all in on Mahomes and Hurts, or would you be more inclined to fade them and mix in the Browns, Browns, Kelsey, Smith, Swifts of the world?
Yeah, my answer probably, just go with the QB. They have just such a huge advantage on FanDuel in terms of like the scoring. It takes multiple touchdowns from a skill possession player essentially to beat them. And a lot of times I'm able to go through and identify like pricing differences, but it's honestly pretty similar to DraftKings. The one guy like DeAndre Swift is $13K, which is pretty expensive over there. Kelsey's 14 and Swift is just right there, $1,000 below. Pacheco, I think his game definitely fits FanDuel scoring better than DK. He's $11,000. Going down a little bit. I mean, all those cheap guys are basically between 8,500 and 5,500 that we talked about, the cheap wide receivers for the Chiefs, the cheap tight ends, all of them are in that mix. The one guy I will say, though, which is weird saying this because we typically prefer this guy on DraftKings because of the way he plays, is the man that the jersey you're wearing. He's only 6,500, which is really, really cheap on FanDuel. It's, the floor price is 5K. He's 65. So he's like cheaper than all the wide receivers and tight end. So I actually kind of like him a little bit more over there. Noah Gray is all the way down at 55. That stands out. And then Grant Calcaterra, 5K flat, which is like the minimum price over there. So I don't know, pretty similar between the two today, which, we usually are able to find a few differences, but I'd say it's pretty straightforward between the two sites. Not many differences.
Julio at 7K with a guaranteed touchdown. That's a lock on Hoops team.
I'll take that on FanDuel. Yeah, especially with that scoring on FanDuel, where the one touchdown is worth so much more. Yeah, that's a good point. Those red zone targets, I'm in. Good call.
There you go. And of course on FanDuel, it's even harder to get different. Yeah. If you leave $0 in salary, I mean, you better have a very random MVP or someone in the flex. Otherwise, maybe leave a little bit of salary. If you chalk at MVP spot, have to have someone pretty low owned in the flex there, usually a pass catcher. You'd rather like a Julio Jones. Hurts throws it to your Julio or a Sky Moore, Tony's. Got to get different, got to get crazy on FanDuel, even more so than DK. Before we go, start dropping your scores in the chat. I'll let Ham pick the first one, Hoop pick the second one. Touch on that before we get on out of here. But if you do want to join us, our content, some of it I think is already up right now. It's going to be rolling up, always up early. Head over to shipitnation.com and make sure to use that promo code MAYO. Gets you 10% off. Monthly package, $69 a month. 6-month package comes out to $59 a month. And our annual package comes out to $49 a month. No better price in the industry. Discord, a great community. NFL, MLB not going on right now. NBA is. PGA a little break. MMA is, but it isn't this week. And NHL in full force. No better price. Use that promo code MAYO. Get in the Discord too if you do join. I am messing up this overlay. There we go. Ham, any scores you see in the chat that you want to pull up?
I'm just gonna give you one. I think Harrison Butker kicked the last second field goal. 2017 Chiefs.
2017 Chiefs. I like that.
Chiefs. That's kind of what the spread indicates. A little. So that would be a little bit less than the total, right? So it's 37. So we're looking at
correct
under Chiefs
8.5. Yep.
Let's see how that works.
NHL is out, Nate says. Love it. I've been messing around in the NHL streets. Big NBA slate. Millie up top. It's gonna be a good night. Yeah, time to get all that cheese back from yesterday.
Nades was in there taking the victory lap, and rightfully so on Trevor Lawrence, rightfully so. I mean, he said 25 to 30. Yeah, he was wrong. He undershot. Yeah.
No faith in Trevor.
He gets no shout out for that. I'm just kidding, Nate. It's good call.
All right, so here's what we got here. So a Chiefs win by 3, about 7 or 8 points under the total, and so obviously we want a lot of Mahomes. They want 60% Kelsey. Then you start to see Jalen Hurts come down a little bit. Negative 13 leverage plays. DeAndre Swift, though, you guys both were kind of high on Swift. Swift's popping in this game, which I think is somewhat interesting. AJ Brown, about the same. Rice is a positive play. Jake Elliott. Now the kickers are a little bit skewed in this just because the score would indicate that kickers are involved. So these guys are going to pop up a little bit more. Lower on Pacheco, which you guys were also Swift over Pacheco, so that might make some sense. Ham, Justin Watson, a big time negative play. Devonta Smith, big time negative play. And Mr. Julio Jones, look at that, a little positive 7.6%, baby. It's all starting to add up. Let's go.
Stole down there in -2, Gray negative, Hardman a little positive. All those guys cheap. I love it though. It's a lot of what Albert O for Big Ham down there, positive. I like it. I mean, we like Swift. We didn't like Pacheco. They agreed with that. We liked Rashee Rice. They agreed with that. Obviously, this score has to dictate a lot, like Hurst way below. Only 2 touchdowns for the Eagles side. Ham, anything stick out? Devontae Smith definitely sticks out to me, how negatively leveraged he is. And they have him at 33%, 6%, which I think is pretty fair. Any thoughts on this score, Ham?
Yeah, I mean, it just this to me, DeAndre Swift gets a touchdown, Julio or somebody like that catches a Jalen Hurts touchdown, and Jalen Hurts throws for 175 yards and doesn't get there in the optimal. So it's going to be tough on DraftKings and FanDuel to fit a bunch of these studs in there. You're going to have to find somebody, I don't know, 2,500 and below that pops. And so, hey, Hoops turning me on to little Julio. I'm going to have a little Julio now. So yeah, no, I like this, and I could see how you could build this without Jalen Hurts. So yeah, this is good stuff.
I like it. Hoop, start looking for a score. You might have came in a little late. It was about the tweet T Swift. Will she be here? All that. I just bring that back up again because 2 people in chat clarified she will not be. She has a concert in Brazil or something. Right. I didn't think she was. Now I'm not going to answer your second part. Do you fade? Do you not? You do whatever you want with that information, but she will not be there. That's enough of that talk. What is your favorite, or what's a score you want to see? Hoop?
Yeah, I messed it up again, man. When is Tambo back this week? We need Tambo back in the saddle here because. All right,
I agree.
That was a quick fix.
My word count will be able to go way down when Tambo.
That's what I'm saying. Like my voice is hurt. My voice is hurting from the last week, man. I think I exceeded my words spoken by about 500%. Thursday, Sunday, and Monday.
I appreciate your help. Appreciate your help balancing it out for me.
Yeah, what's the what is it? People drink tea or something like honey and tea for their sore throat. You and I might we might have to take care of our throats after getting all these words out the last 3 slates.
Yeah, thanks for Ham for hopping on, saving us a couple words.
Absolutely. What's so my turn to pick?
Yeah, go Philly something.
Someone put 52 to okay, they're just messing around. We're not going to do this, but there's no way you think that's a reasonable score for this game. All right, we'll go Eagles 24, and then someone put 23. That could be weird though for the kickers. Let's just go the opposite. So let's just say the Eagles win and it stays right around the total. Let's see what happens there. Don't want pro mode. Run the Sims. My internet, of course, is way slower than Tambo's 1 million megabits per second or whatever he shows off on every show.
I forget what that was called, internet. He told me to check it once.
I think if you just Google internet speed, it's the first thing that pops up. Yeah.
I don't even know how to do that. Tambo's over here checking his internet speed real time.
Yeah, Hoops is clearly behind. All right, so 24, let me just put it in here just so people can see what we're talking about. 24-21, Philly. That's the score we kind of ran here.
Well, there's my guy Rice popping again.
Yeah, Rice again. So even in a losing game, Rice showing up as a solid play. Pacheco, another negative. Man, I was kind of on Pacheco. You guys might be might be onto something. So the Swift Pacheco split remained pretty much unchanged. Still like Swift, still does not like Pacheco, basically like the same kind of rate here. Kelsey remains a neutral play. I mean, he's just going to be a good play regardless. AJ Brown, kind of the same thing. Watson, big negative still. Devonta Smith, still a big negative. That's interesting.
And take that down, title.
I saw who glanced over and it just the face went just all
smile, baby, straight to the smile.
Hey, I'm playing Julio now. You got me hooked, too. You got me hooked.
You got Pollard right. You got Pollard right. You got Love, or you got Love right hand. You got Trevor right.
What about Saquon? Yeah. No Saquon love?
Oh, Saquon, you did nail the Saquon.
Yeah, that was a great call.
I mean, man, the Washington D is cheeks. If DeVito's doing that to you.
Hey, I wrote up Tommy DeVito, too, on the slate plan.
I know you did.
I didn't play any of them, but I wrote.
Was he super? He had to be super cheap, right? What was the price tag?
I mean, I didn't look on DK on FanDuel. It's 6,300, so you don't really get much of a savings.
Yeah, you don't get much. Yeah, it's not like it's all the way down there. Yeah, that's a good call though, man.
Let's go one last score. Let's see what like a 14-10 looks like. Then we'll get on out of here. You guys can pick the winner, but both scores showed a lot of the same stuff. They love Jake Elliott. They liked Rice.
They like Julio.
That's how you do it. I finally figured out how to go back. We don't need Tambo anymore. I got it figured out.
Tambo, we got this.
So what was it?
14-10, and then you can pick whoever you think wins. Just want to see, like, does Pacheco get a little more of a boost? They hated Devontae Smith. Both runs. We had
Smith was way down on both. Yeah. But it's like,
like Julio.
Throw it to someone. Maybe it's just Swift, like you guys talked about. Maybe he picks up that extra passing role, which could certainly be the case. Until
Gainwell comes in, like, man, both sides. This is what makes it so fun, though. Ownership's going to be outside of those top four. It's going to be spread out for a lot of the park because it's not often you have 25 guys rotating in, especially on one side of the ball. Oops.
Yeah, that is true. That is true, Nate. It's like my lawn is definitely trumps Tambo's internet. There's no doubt.
Nah, still Swift. Swift's popping.
Yeah, they love Swift. Still hates Hurts. Still loves Elliott. Likes Rice, not Pacheco. So same thing.
But the defense both shot up too.
So a game like this, so 14. What is it? 14-10. So yeah, Elliott's naturally just going to get a big boost because 60 or 30% of their score is attributed basically to a field goal. So Chase D, that makes sense. Rice continues to pop in every game script, and Pacheco continues to not pop in every game script.
Do a blowout real quick if we can, if we got time. Or not a blowout, but just like a 35-38 type.
High scoring. All right, we'll do a high scoring in favor of the Eagles. 38-35. We'll run it.
Hope you had a good weekend as well, Jesse. Thanks for hopping in. Hit that like button if you haven't already. 3:30 out there watching. Helps us out a ton. Who is Olamide? How has Almighty come up leverage?
Oh, Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus.
Oh, Zacchaeus.
Is that his first name?
Yeah.
Olamide.
Wow. That's impressive, dude. Yeah.
I knew it was O something. I didn't know it was Olamide.
I've never heard never seen anyone refer to him by the first name.
Devontae is just getting crushed, even in a blowout.
Yeah. And so I wonder some of this. We can wait when Tambo's back and stuff, but like the target share for Rice, the target share for Smith. Like if you go in and mess with those, we mess with the rushing share and stuff sometimes. But my thought is like it's already as a hard. I mean, Devontae Smith has had a lot less target share than AJ Brown and some of these other guys at that price. So if you mess around with that number, I assume the leverage and stuff changes.
Yeah, and he's showing 40% too ownership. I don't know if maybe he will. I don't know. I guess he's
33-6, maybe.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, maybe it's pretty close. Yeah, so it's not. I mean, it's a price tag thing, and it's like he's got to beat at $9K. He's got to compete with probably two of these guys. He probably has to beat Mahomes, either Mahomes, Hurts, Kelsey, or AJ Brown. He's got to beat two of those guys to be on the optimal. Just it's not very likely. So that's probably why we're seeing him show up so negative.
And they love Swift and Rice, so just for cheaper instead of Smith, it seems like they prefer them more. So he's just in that range where it likes everyone more than Devontae Smith.
Yeah. And he's close enough to the top tier guys where he's got to do something really big. I mean, because you look at it, Kelsey's only 10K. I mean, that's a pretty price tag for Kelsey. A.J. Brown, the way he's playing, 10-2, relatively cheap price tag on him. And then you got the quarterbacks right here. I mean, they price these guys pretty darn low. Like the quarterbacks could easily be closer to 12, and Kelsey and A.J. Brown could easily be closer to 11. They didn't do that, and they left Smith pretty close to those dudes. And then not too much cheaper is Swift and Rice, or I guess you get a little bit of a discount going down to Swift and Rice. So that's kind of why. Yeah.
Ham, what are your final thoughts on, if you want to touch on anything on Run the Sims? We did a lot of different scores, a lot of different winners, but just overall thoughts on this slate before we get on out of here.
Hey, one more note on this.
Julio. I knew it. Ham, go ahead.
I mean, I said it earlier. It's like you see those top four, you're going to have to find that guy or two in that lower tier, kicker, maybe defense and below that scores a touchdown. Because you're just going to have to do that. I don't think Stoll, I don't think it's Calcaterra, but you're going to have to find somebody that can do that because you're going to want to play these studs.
I know a guy.
Hey, I'm playing him. And when I win $1 million, we're gonna flood the community with Julio jerseys, Eagle Julio jerseys. So it should be a good slate. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I know it's part of the game. I mean, I hope it's like a clean weather game. I want to see a good game. Yeah. These are two really good teams. Hopefully, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, just let's avoid some injuries. Let's avoid a punt return to start it off, a pick six. I mean, just something that we've seen every other showdown game, primetime game, what it feels like. Final thoughts on this, but also all of our content will be rolling on the site. Yeah. Touch on a little, though. It's one of the best weeks of the year, man. Nothing better than a little Thanksgiving, 3-game action, big boy money up top. Prize pools are massive. Of course, we'll have content for that, but a little sneak peek on what our schedule will be for that. And final thoughts on this one.
Yeah, quick turnaround. I mean, probably the best week for NFL slates of the year. Well, it definitely is. You get the Thanksgiving where the prize pools will be massive, and then you get a full slate on Sunday, and they have a game Friday as well, a showdown standalone game, which will be big. So it's an exciting week. In terms of our content tonight, it'll be up early, give you a chance to get in there, digest it, get in our Discord, answer questions, shipitnation.com. Everything will start rolling out relatively soon. In terms of the schedule coming up for the Thursday Thanksgiving show, we're going to be doing that Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can obviously catch it live or play it back. It'll be right here on the Mayo Media Network, and we'll have full content for the Thursday Thanksgiving slate. We'll have full content for the showdown slate on Friday, and then the main slate as well. So now, if you're an NFL fan, you've been sitting on the sideline, you're going to get your most money's worth if you hop in. So give us a shot, shipitnation.com. Looking forward to this game. Like you said, fingers crossed. Let's just have a good, solid football game. How about that? None of the bull crap, no injuries, just a solid game between two of the best teams in the NFL.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts on this, Hoop? We didn't mention it. I'm going to hope you say no. We like him in the flags, but we don't need – he ain't grabbing 2 or 3 for us.
Yeah, and the answer is no to Julio Captain, and I don't love him as much as I'm saying. Like, I'm going to play some Julio. It turned into a bit here throughout the show. Don't expect Julio to be like in 80% of my lineups or anything like that. He is just
no, that's not. Yeah. We don't recommend that people out there jamming Julio in all their line 100% either. But hey, it is a fun slate for sure. As Hoop mentioned, a bunch of content this week. Millie Maker tonight, Millie Maker Thursday. I assume big prize pool for the standalone showdown on Friday as well. Appreciate everyone hanging out. NBA, NHL, NFL, get in the Discord. Use that promo code MAYO if you do to join to get 10% off monthly, 6-month, or annual packages. We will be back today talking some NBA on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. We'll be back on the Mayo Media Network talking Wednesday, the Thursday Thanksgiving slate. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Have a great night. Let's see some Ship It Nation logos up top for Ham. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.